colleagues of mine telling you guys stories to give you quite some nice information on the topic. And this is all in English. So if you don't speak English, just prefer it in your own language, or just want to enhance another language, you can scan the QR codes on the wall and you can just check whether your language is there, maybe an audio tool. Also, you guys have got 2 tokens. If you have them, protect them with your life. It's your beers, and you don't want to miss out on your beers. So enjoy your beers, please follow my colleague Rory, and have a great day.
Right, I think that's everyone, so I'm going to get started. Did you all know that we are standing on sacred ground this very second? Probably my colleague just told you, but yes, this is the very first brewery that was built by our founding father, Adrian Heineken, built all the way back in 1867. However, we did have another brewery before that. It lay closer on within the bounds of the city, right next to Dam Square, but we produced a different sort of beer there, a darker, more traditional Dutch ale. But there was a cool new beer coming out of Germany, which all the hipsters were drinking, called the lager. So we moved here in 1867 to start solely producing a more profitable, more popular beer. How did it used to work? Well, there's a canal right outside this building, and boats used to arrive full of ingredients, and they get pumped up into one of the silos that you see above me right now. If you'd like to see what the process looked like later on, you can pull that lever over there. But for now, you want to direct your attention to this item right here. Very important, and believe it or not, you've all probably seen it at one point in your lives before. What is it? It's the golden medal, or médaille d'or. I know my French is terrible, I'm sorry. That was given to us at the 1875 World Fair in Paris. Why is it so important? Well, in the less globalized world, Heineken was desperate to burst onto the scene, become an internationally recognized beer. What was the best way to do that before the internet? Through word of mouth and gaining accolades. So we entered into the food and drinks category of the World Fair, and we were fortunate enough to come in first place. We are so proud of this achievement that you can still see it on every single bottle of beer that we produce today. But speaking of bottles, if you'd like to follow me this way, you can see one of the oldest bottles that we have in our collection. It's not the oldest bottle, but it's the oldest bottle that we can get our hands on. So it's very important to us for 3 reasons. Does anyone think that they can guess one of the reasons? Do not worry, I'll tell you for you. So first of all, we switched from brown glass to green glass, so we'd be instantly recognizable all around the world. We also have this resealable mechanism on top. Take your beer with you wherever you want to go, keep it nice and fresh. Feat of modern engineering. The third reason is this little name at the bottom, BF Librand. What does it mean? Well, back in the day, we didn't bottle domestic beers ourselves. We sent them to independent distributors who were so proud of producing the Heineken name that they put their factory name on the bottom. This bottle is from the very beginning of the 1900s, but by the 1920s we had grown a little bit fed up with the inconsistencies in bottling practices, so we decided to start bottling all of the beers ourselves. How? With this machine right here. So you take it down like that, put it in a beer bottle, manually fill it up one at a time. Lovely, golden, gorgeous Heineken. Now, at the height of production back in the day, we could do around 7,000 bottles a day. But nowadays, with increases in machinery and technology, we can do more like 700,000 bottles in an hour. We don't make beers here anymore though, however. We stopped in 1988 when we moved to a much larger brewery in the town in the south of Holland, Schulze. It is now the largest brewery in all of Europe, at around the size of 150 football fields big. It's got the capacity to supply all of the United States of America with their Heinekens for the years. But speaking of the States, does anybody know what happened there between 1920 and 1933? Indeed, prohibition, which means terrible times for people in America, sad times for Heineken, bad times all around. That was until President Roosevelt came along and he lifted the ban by saying the famous words, "Now will be a great time for a beer." Tell me about it. Anyway, he lifted the ban and the race was on to be the very first imported beer into the United States of America. Just 6 days later, we reached the shores of New Jersey to become the first beer imported stateside. We're still one of the largest there to this day, and this, combined with our success in Paris and elsewhere around the globe, is why we love to say that we were born in Amsterdam, but raised by the world. It's beautiful, isn't it? Thanks so much for listening to this first bit about Heineken heritage. You can continue your tour up the stairs right here. Hope you have a lovely day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Estamos en eso, Fernando. Heineken Brown and Heineken Company have been built around 3 core values. An uncompromising passion for the quality of our beer, from the ingredients we use to how we brew and bottle. Great respect for people.
Or we like to call it the ingredients room. Here I'm gonna have a little talk with you guys about 4 ingredients which make a perfect Heineken. As you can see over here, we use water, barley, hops, and yeast. I'm gonna start off with water and we're gonna work our way through yeast. Starting off with water. Can one of you guys maybe guess how many percentage of a Heineken is made out of water? Maybe almost. Maybe you guys know how many percentage of an Heineken is alcohol? 6. It is 5, so you were pretty close because the remaining percentage, 95, which is water. So that means there's a lot of water in our Heineken. So we need our water to be perfect. How do we make it perfect? We purify our water with purifying plants in each and every one of our factories. But you all know water, it's not that interesting, so let's move on to the second one, which is barley. As you guys can see over here, barley is a type of cereal. You can eat it for breakfast, it's not that good, we don't recommend it, but they do a lot for our beards. As you can see over here, this is how they are grown, and they need kind of a lot of sun to grow. And in the Netherlands we don't have that, except today. Today's a nice day, but normally we have rain and we cannot grow things over here. So we grow it in France, ship it over to us, and that's when we can finally use it. But before we add it to the water, we're going to roast our barley. Why do we do this? Because it becomes kind of golden brown, and this is what creates the golden color of your Heineken. Now, we finally add it to the water, and you have this liquid you cannot really do a lot with, and well, it's kind of gross, so we're going to heat it up. When we heat it up, sugars come out of the barley, and you have this sugary liquid, which we call wort. We're going to remember that because we're going to use it later in our process. Then we're going to go on to our third ingredient, which is the hops. As you guys can see over here, hops is a type of flower. It's not that pretty, and they smell really, really bad. You can smell it when I'm done with my story, but I warned you guys. Behind here, this is what they look like when they grow. They grow about 30 centimeters in one day. So if you have the patience and the time, you can actually see it grow. And this is what they look like when they are still on the tree. So they're not that bad. But when we use them, they are dried out, and that's why they look like this. But what do they actually do for your beer? The first thing is, you all have seen the little foam layer on top of your beer, and are probably wondering, why is there foam on my beer? I want more beer. But they do have a purpose, guys. It's kind of a protective layer on top of your beer, and they keep the bubbles inside of it. So this means if you bartend and port your beer correctly, you're gonna have a little bit of foam on it. You're gonna take your first sip. It's gonna taste amazing. You all know what it tastes like. But if you don't want to jug it entirely, you're gonna probably leave it on the side for a bit, for a few minutes maybe. And you want it to taste the exact same way. So you're gonna take a sip. It's gonna taste the exact same way. But if you bartender didn't pour your beer correctly and you do not have a lot of foam on it, the foam is going to be gone after a few minutes, and the bubbles are going to be gone as well. So it won't taste the same. And in the Netherlands we call it a dead beer because it doesn't taste the same and it has no bubbles. This is one of our favorite things. Then the second thing, there is a natural preservative in our hops, which is called lupulin. You do not have to remember that. You just have to remember that it makes the shelf time of your beer a bit longer. So this means you can store it in either your fridge or wherever you keep it in the house. And every time you're craving a beer, you do not have to run to the store, but you can take it out of your fridge. This is good for us and for you guys because we can store things. Then our third thing, you all taste the Heineken beer, I think, and I'll taste a little bitter flavor. They also come from the hops. So while they maybe not look or smell that good, they taste pretty good. Then, moving on to our last ingredient, it is the yeast, or how we like to call it, the Heineken A-yeast. And it is our secret ingredient. About 11 people in the world know the recipe to it. Sadly, I'm not one of them, so I cannot share it with you guys. But they make our Heineken a perfect Heineken. And how do they do this? Remember the sugary liquid I talked about? This is where the yeast comes in. The yeast kind of acts like a pigment, and they eat the sugars, turn it into carbon dioxide, which are the bubbles inside of your beer, and into the remaining 5% alcohol. As well as maybe the fruity flavor you have tasted, they also come from the yeast. If you have no idea when I'm saying fruity flavor, you're going to taste it later on in the tour, and they're going to explain a little bit more about it. So these were the 4 ingredients. If you want to see, smell, or taste the wort, you can go on to the next room and see it over there in real life. You can also take a look at the ingredients or ask me any questions and enjoy the tour. You should smell it.
Yeah, I'll smell it.
It's not that good, huh? Anyway, guys, cheers. You guys didn't hear the story yet? You can wait for a bit. I'll tell it again.
that temperature, the water becomes this color, like a bit brownish, so like whitish, and also the sugars are released, properly mixed also with the water. Then it's called wort. Then the wort and the barley both are sent to kettle number 3 to separate them. If you have a look inside, you have some blades and then a filter. And then the barley was used to feed animals because it's very nutritious. And then the wort continued to kettle number 4, where the hops or the little flowers were added. They will give us later the bitter flavor, then the foam layer, and also the preservative for our beer, the natural preservative. Then, after boiling for a couple of hours, we send the mix to an open tank to let it cool down, also for a couple of hours, to room temperature. And then we can add the Heineken yeast in the fermentation tank. Look a bit like this, but of course they're much bigger. After 7 days, we have the fermented alcohol and the 60 that Heineken beer has. After we have the fermented beer, we send it to the lagering tanks to rest for 21 days. Our tanks are horizontal, so this allows for the beer to absorb better the flavors and the esters or the aromas of the Heineken yeast. Then the yeast comes down, and then we can filter it for the last step, which is bottling our beer. So in total, we have a 28-day brewing process. And as I mentioned, as you probably realized, we need only 4 kettles to make one batch of beer. One set of 4 kettles is called a street. So here we're standing between 2 streets. This is the oldest part of the building. It dates to 1913, as you can see by the tiles and the windows. And this more modern part is from 1956, and it only worked for around 30 days because we closed our doors here in 1988. So over there on that wall, we have a bit of graphic explanation of what I just mentioned, the brewing process. And also inside some of the kettles, you can watch short videos of the same process. We have also some aprons there if you want to take pictures and become the brewer today. And if you have any questions, you can